So, Azza, welcome to the Rice Pudding Project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming here.
I am so happy to be here. Honored.
I know you very well, but for the people at home, the public, can you give us a little bit of a backstory or description about who you are and what it is you do?
Thank you for having me on board. Really, really exciting. When you told me about, wanting me to come on board, I was like, do I do this? I don't do that. Because even though, like you said, we're in the industry, I don't find it very comfortable to be in front of the camera. I don't mind being behind the camera, but not in front of the camera. So,
Power behind the camera.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of power there, but being in front of the camera, even though I've been behind it for the past 30 years, never comfortable. I don't like it. It's not something that I do naturally. So I was like, do I say yes? Do I say no? But then I thought, you know what? I want to do this. I want to say yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Azza. I've been in Dubai for 30 years. And came to Dubai as a head of production in BBDO, which is, one of the biggest agencies around the world, back then and till now. And I've been dabbling with a lot of things related to production, but I'm no longer head of production in an advertising agency. So I left that world and I left the corporate world. I freelanced for a little bit. I did a couple of feature films as an executive producer. And then I was getting a lot of people telling me, you know what, you're good at what you do, but we won't be able to pay you money to your personal account. So we sort of want you to come on board as a production to do commercials for us or to do productions for us. So I freelanced for a little bit, and then I thought, you know what, let me start my own production house. And that was not very common back then. We're talking about 2013. There weren't a lot of production houses in Dubai, unlike now. So I started my own production house, but it was meant to be sort of a boutique. And the whole idea behind it was to service for production companies around the world that don't have a base, that don't know Dubai, that don't know the market, that don't have a trade license. So that was really the formula. And did a lot of money, did great work, met a lot of interesting people. And then a number of issues, started happening in 2019, COVID 2020, and all that. So it became a little bit different, the whole dynamics and the formula of working. So I like to reinvent myself every 10 years or so. So I thought, you know what, I'm actually good at consulting, and I'm good at knocking on doors of clients and getting them, to trust what I'm saying, because I know my field and I'm an expert in it. So I started actually consulting for a number of clients. So I was consulting for Nestle for a couple of years. I was consulting for KFC for 3-4 years. The big break sort of came through when I started consulting for Saudi tourism. And I sort of relocated to Riyadh for 2 years. But I was in and out because obviously this is my base. That's my country. That's where
family's here.
Family is here.
Yeah.
So I was in and out of Riyadh, but I was sort of like a full-time consultant for Saudi tourism. And then the best thing happened in my life. I would like to say that I got a call from Dubai Tourism. They sort of knocked on my doors in mid 2024 when I was actually about to renew one more year with the Saudi Tourism. But I thought, you know what? This is Dubai Tourism. This is home. This is where my family is.
Because they did some big commercials all with...
And they do a lot of great work.
Zac Efron, was it? And Jessica Alba.
Yeah, but that was way before my time.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously it's like, they've been doing it for far longer than Saudi. So I really wanted to be here. So I thought, why not? So currently, I would say the bulk of my work is consulting, specifically for Dubai Tourism. DAT, as we call it.
When you're not consulting, what do you do?
When I'm not consulting, you were talking work or personal?
Personal, anything. Hobbies. Because you're not part of the corporate life, right?
No, I'm not part of the corporate life. Yeah.
Why? Well, let's say, why did you leave the corporate life? Because you were like the top person. Like everyone knew you. To be honest, you were like you were in charge. So why did you leave?
Well, I left for a number of reasons. I think number one was that when I had the opportunity to do the feature films, so I really had to be dedicated for that. It was impossible to do feature films and still be employed with a company. I was with BBDO for a good 20 years by then, or 25 between Cairo and here. So I thought, you know what, it's actually time for me to change and do something a little bit different. If I don't do it now, I may not do it. And when the opportunity came for the feature films, I'm like, you know what, that's my chance. So I did the first one, and then the second one came along, and then nothing was coming after that, feature films-wise. So I left the corporate world for that. I also left because I wanted to be a better mom, because I had just had my second baby. Yeah, and I wasn't a great mom. I don't know if I'm a good mom now, but I wanted to be a little bit better, than.
Why would you say that? Why would you say you're not a good mom? Because you're working so much?
No, that's not the reason. I mean, that is obviously a big part of it. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible to be able to do both, working and being a mom. But in my case, I was working, I mean, you were head of production yourself and producer for the longest time and director, and you have a kid as well, and you know how hard we work, and it's like so many hours, and we travel the world, and it's
I think we're tougher on ourselves than we should be.
I think we are.
So I think mums take that on a bit. They take on a bit of guilt more than they should. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think you're harder on yourself than you were about.
I think I am, and I think a lot of the women are harder on themselves than they are. But I mean, I know that I could have been a better mom, and I'm working on it, and I think it's something that I keep working on till now. My kids are 20 and 16, but I still every single day think, I could be a better mom. I have to work on myself, but this is part of my character. I like to work on myself. I like to be better at anything I do. I like, I read a lot about it. I aspire to always be better.
Okay.
So
right.
I think it's a good trait.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So then you made the feature film when you left the corporate world.
Yes.
You did 2 features.
I did 2 feature films.
And then what else did you start doing that you couldn't do when you were in the corporate world?
I always did a lot of sports, to be honest, and I am certified as a fitness instructor, and I got my certificate from the UK. Okay. And I did this when I was in the corporate world. I actually took some time off BBDO, and I went and I lived in England, in Surrey, and this is where I got certified. So I've always had a passion for fitness and working out and what have you. So I do that a lot. So it actually, leaving the corporate world gave me a chance to do more of that. I always loved water sports. I'm a Pisces, so I think it's related to my horoscope. Okay. I love anything to do with the water, and I would, I do all sports related to water. Okay. I started with the wakeboarding, and then I got really hard on my knees because, I was getting older. Okay. So I moved to wake surfing, which is a little bit softer on the knees.
What's the wakeboarding one?
The wakeboarding one is the one that you're actually connected to a boat, and you have the sort of the handles with you, and you're going by the speed of the boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can do that with
You can do that with a double or one.
Okay.
Yeah, up to you.
Okay.
And then obviously you can do tricks and you can jump up and down, but you're always connected. To that line.
And what's the other one?
The wake surfing, which is the one that I adopted after that because it's a little bit softer on my knees, is basically I am riding an artificial wave created by the boat. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not connected to the boat. Yeah. At first I have to, and then I let it go, and then the boat creates for me an artificial wave, and I ride that wave. Okay. So it's as if I'm surfing the water and saving the waves, but because here we don't have waves. Yeah. So it has to be created artificially for you by the boat.
Why is it easier on the knees? Because it's the same.
No, because you're not as bumpy as you would, and you're not being pulled by the boat or dragged by the boat.
Okay.
You're riding a wave.
Okay. All right. But you do the other one as well, which I remember.
Yeah, so what I did, it was sort of like a progression. I started with the wakeboarding. It got a little bit, harder on the knees. So I did wake surfing, which was great and fantastic. Yeah. But, no matter how big the wave is, it was never bigger than 1.5 meters, which is not a wave for me. I want the Hawaiian waves, So I thought, what, I want to do something a little bit more aggressive and something more fun.
And that's what got tough on the knees?
It is hard on the knees, but it's actually my salvation. It's what saved me from a lot of issues. So I got into kite surfing.
That's the one. That's the one that scares me.
That's the one. I don't know why it scares you, but
because that's the one you go in the sky.
Yeah, you jump and you do tricks and you can do whatever you want. But I don't do anything really crazy. When I see my friends that are much younger than I am, because the kite surfing community is the 20 to the 45-year-old. I'm even a little bit older than that. So I don't do the crazy stuff. I jump and I do tricks, but I don't do the crazy tricks that my 20-year-old friends do.
What kind of a trick? What's it like? What is, because for me, I don't like it, I've seen people go up. For me, going up in the air is just being off the water is a trick.
Yeah, no, that's not a trick. I mean, for us, it's a jump. You can do like a 5-meter jump. You can do a 10-meter. My friend last week did a 25-meter jump, but I'm not him. That's Francois.
But you do 10 meters jump.
I do 10 meters.
Yeah, but that's...
Yeah, I know. It's fantastic. It's great. It's like you're flying. No, but, my friends actually do 25 meters and they do loops. And then they do another loop. So they're up in the air.
So you're floating.
For a good 30, 40 seconds. So they're actually walking. It's incredible. I don't do that. I don't do those crazy tricks. I do jumps. I land safely. And then I continue kite surfing.
This is the thing. So, okay, when you go up.
Yeah.
You're floating, right?
Yes.
how do you not get like pushed out? Like somewhere, like I mean, like I'm, like where do you land again? I know you land in the water, but like when you get land off, like I say, of course, like, oh, how do you get back to the beach? Like, how do you?
Well, it's I mean, obviously, it's a learning curve. Like, when I started kite surfing, back in I took the course in 2019 in Egypt, and then when I came to Dubai, it was 2020. It was COVID. The beach was shut. I couldn't really practice. And then, for the longest time I said, you know what, I'm only going to kite in Egypt because it's really good wind. We don't have great wind in Dubai. But then I thought, you know what, I live here. I have to get used to the conditions here. So I bought kites specifically for Dubai, because the kites we have in in Egypt are, a little bit different because there's much better wind and stronger wind. Okay. So it's all about, kite sizes. So it was a progression. So, to answer your point about, how do we know where we're going and how do we get back to the beach and how do we get back to the same starting point? It's about understanding the wind, obviously the direction of the wind. So that was really important. And it was something difficult for me to do because, we have that... people have this misconception of women not understanding direction. I don't think it's a misconception. I actually think it's true.
I don't think
we don't know anything about directions, to be honest. And it was a big challenge for me. Because, my husband would tell me, oh, by the way, you need to go east, west. I was like, dude, just tell me, is it right or left? To me, it was that.
My wife will have a different... She'll tell me that I don't know anything about
directions.
Yeah, she knows everything. I think it's because her dad was a merchant sailor.
Maybe.
But, I don't know at all. She'll be like,
so I just, I started learning a little bit about the wind, to understand the wind. And like, if I go there, am I going to go downwind? Will I be able to go upwind? Am I going to go hit the rock? Am I going to end up landing in Iran? I have to be careful where I'm going.
When you ask me why you're scared, because of this, rocks, ending up there.
No, but then, obviously, of course, your fears are legit, as a beginner. But then when you get used to it, it's easy. It's like, it becomes like riding a bicycle. Like you can stop for 6 months and you go back in the water and you pick it up again.
Someone told me you recycle you make bags.
I do, yeah. How did you know?
Huh?
How did you know?
Someone told me
yesterday.
Yeah, someone told me yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, they're like, oh, I'm meeting Azza, and they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, she does this crazy kite surfing thing. She's like, did you know that she recycles and she makes bags? I'm like, what do you mean she makes bags?
What happens is, kiting or kites in general have a shelf life. So you could, potentially like after a year or 2 years, you have to throw them away. Or they get, screwed up and messed up, because of the use, in the water, or they explode, because of weather conditions, or heat, or what have you.
Again, going back to why I don't want to do
but by the way,
explosion.
I know, but it's a tube, really. It's like the tube that you have in floaties. It's the same concept. Yeah. But so like after a year or two, and it depends, what usage you do of those kites, they're no longer usable.
I'm so good with men just like squashing me and in jiu-jitsu. I'm not sold on this whole thing.
No, I don't know.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so basically what I did was, and the material of the kites are very toxic, so they're really bad for the environment. Okay. So it's not something you should toss in the environment. You should try and do something with it. Okay. So I had a really, really, one of my favorite kites in the whole wide world, exploded on me 3 times in 1 month. So I thought, it's a sign. Because, it can explode and you can fix it.
Okay.
Okay. And they're very, very expensive. Kites can go up to 15,000 dirhams. So it's a lot of money. It's a big investment. So it's not like, you can afford to have like 6 or 7 kites. So you need to take care of them. Okay. And that's only the price of the kite. You have the board, you have the harness, you have the bar, and every item has a price. So you could, like my gear costs much more than my car does. Yeah, true story. So when that lovely kite of mine exploded for the 3rd time in a month, I said, you know what? I'm not going to fix it khalas anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and buy a new kite. And I thought, I want to do something with it because, I love this kite. It's personal to me. And, I used it a lot. And I did some of my great tricks with it. So I found a tailor in Deira. And I told him, I have this. He's like, yeah, but I work in cloth. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I will tell you exactly what I want done with them. I just want you to be able to tailor them for me. So don't worry about, what it looks like or what can be done with them. So I started, Googling, stuff that I could do with the kite. So you can do like a glasses holder. You can do iPad holders. You can do bags. You can do backpacks. You can pretty much turn it into anything.
And you sell them?
No, I just kept them for myself and I gifted some.
That's so cool.
Eventually it can become a business, but it's not gonna, make me a lot of money. Yeah. It could be something I can do on the side because there's a lot of kites out there that ruined. People are not using them, and so it's so I'm recycling my kites to try to be fair to and sustainable to the environment, and at the same time, I want to keep it with me because I can no longer use it.
What's the next extreme sport that you're going to do, or this is it for now?
I'm actually doing something now that's not extreme sport, but it's actually fantastic, and I'm addicted to it, and I'm doing it now on a daily basis, even though you know that you should not do sports on a daily basis. And I'm now doing the reformer, Pilates, like religiously. I got into it like last month when a friend of mine introduced me to it.
It's like everyone's doing it.
I'm in love with it, and I can understand the craze, and I can understand why everyone is doing it.
Super hard.
It is fantastic.
Looks super hard.
It is hard, but it's easy
that machine,
on all the muscles, and it's
that machine looks like a torture device for
exactly.
medieval times.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%. So I don't know about extreme sports. I don't know because already what I'm doing is extreme sports. It doesn't get more extreme than kite surfing. There's a lot of accidents on a daily basis.
Have you hurt yourself?
Alhamdulillah, I did not, but I witnessed a really bad accident last year with a woman. She broke her jaw on Kite Beach. So that was very, very traumatic for the
On the water?
No, not on the water. Outside when she was launching the kite. Yeah. So that's why it's a sport that, people have to be really careful when they do it. And, they have to, learn everything about it. You have to be able to self-rescue because you can, like in the middle of the water, no more wind. And that happens a lot in Dubai. It's as if, someone switched off the wind, and you could be stranded in the middle of the water. You have to be able to get back to shore. So part of the course that we take is how to self-rescue yourself. Yeah. So exactly. So you collect all the bar, you collect all the lines, and then you turn that kite into a floaty to help you get back to shore. A lot of people don't know that, or they don't know how to do it, or they don't complete the course till the end, but you need to be able to save yourself in case anything goes wrong.
I'm setting up a flare.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kiting pretty much every year or all year long. I dive as well. Actually, my family and I are all divers.
Did this start when you were a child, like in childhood?
The diving, no.
No?
The diving is something I actually did only 4 years ago. I think it was the times of the COVID.
Okay.
My husband is a marine biologist, so he has 4,000 dives that he's done. So he was always talking about, diving and how great it was and how fantastic it was. And I'm not really into that because I have no control. Like when you're under the water, you have no control.
And you go to the sign language.
Yeah, I know. And it's just, but I'm sure it's a fascinating world down there. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I ended up actually doing it 5 years ago with my younger daughter. So we both took the course together. And then we did a couple of dives in Egypt and a couple of dives in Fujairah. But my older daughter has been a diver for the past 10 years now.
Because of your husband?
Because of my husband, and my husband, marine biologist, so he has 4,000 dives under his belt.
And you grew up in Egypt?
No. I'm born in Kuwait. Oh, okay. I lived there, pretty much all my life. Okay. Been in Dubai for 30 years. I'm a very, very Gulfy girl. Egypt was, maybe 10 to 12 years of my life.
But the sports and the activity, where did that come from? Did that come from your mom or your dad? Like, what was the influence on that to get you into sports?
I would say my father used to go. I mean, I lost my father a long time ago. Sorry, but I would remember always what he smelled like when he came back from the gym. I still have that memory of him. I don't remember his face because I lost him a long time ago. Yeah. But I remember his smell when he used to come back from the gym. So I think he was one of the reasons why I really liked sports because, he would always come back in a good mood and he smelled really good. And he would say, what's for dinner? And, it was like a big deal when he came back from the gym. So I would want to say that's one of the reasons why I liked the sports. But I don't come from a family where sports was a big thing. Right. But I loved it.
Your brothers and sisters?
I do. Okay. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. But I'm the only one that's crazy about sports and loving sports. I always loved it. Now I even tell my kids, I don't care what you do in school or uni. I want you to do...
And do they?
I want you to do sports. My younger daughter is a really good kite surfer. Okay. Very good. Because, when you start younger, you have no fear. Yeah. So she started when she was 12. She's been kiting for the past 4 years now. Okay. But I started when I was old. So I have the fear, she's actually just got an award as the best rugby player in Dubai 2025. She plays rugby.
Rugby?
Yes.
Never played
for
rugby
the Warriors
before.
in Dubai. They got actually the rugby last year, the rugby sevens. They were number 1 under 18 girls. So she's really big into sports. My older daughter actually is the one that started that rugby trend in the house.
She played rugby as well?
She played rugby as well. She plays rugby in the UK.
Did you play rugby?
No.
Did your husband play rugby?
No.
So how did the rugby...
I don't know. They just fell in love with it and they said it's an amazing sport. I don't see the fascination, and it's the kind of sport that actually finishes in 7 minutes and no guys, hello.
Does?
Yeah, because they have the rugby 7s and they have the rugby 15s. That's why it's called the rugby 7s, because it's
There were
only
just 7 players.
minutes.
I have known nothing
no,
about
it's 7
rugby.
minutes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so no, my kids do a lot of sports. Both of them now are with me in Pilates, and no, we love sports in our family.
What got you into production and film? Was that anything from your childhood, or?
It's a very, very sad story, actually, but it's a very interesting story.
Okay.
Yeah. Or at least I would like to think that's how the fascination came about in the film industry and in production and filmmaking in general. I was in London with the family. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. I didn't speak a word of English, but it was a family vacation. So it was my father and my mother and the wife of my uncle. And she had her kids with her, which were 4. And my dad and my mom, 4. So there are 8 kids. And we had 2 other kids, the kids of his other brothers. So my father had like 11 kids with him, with 2 women in London. So he came across as like one of those Arab men, you know, that came with 2 wives. And I remember we were walking down Oxford Street, or I think it was Oxford, I don't know, to be honest. And there was a sign or sort of like an ad for, they had screens on a vitrine, like on the window of a shop.
Like Selfridges or something like that?
No, they were playing Carrie, the movie. Remember
the horror
movie
movie?
Carrie, the horror movie?
Yeah.
And I left everyone behind, or I stopped, you know, to watch it because it was, you know, remember Carrie, it was like bloody and, you know, the bathtub and the prom scene. And we're talking about Carrie, the one back in the 70s.
Yeah,
not
I'm
the
surprised
Carrie
that they're going to have it in the...
No, they had that. It was, I'm sure, I remember
Okay.
it vividly. So I stopped and I was watching it and I was fascinated and I stayed and I watched and I watched and I watched. And then I'm turning around and there's no one. You know, they left me. There was no family.
Home Alone.
Home Alone kind of thing and look and feel. And I'm telling you, I didn't speak a word of English, so I couldn't communicate with anyone and tell them who I am or, you know, where my family are or what to do. So I was like, you know what, they're going to come back. You know, they must come back. So it was like, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. No one came back for me. So I started crying, and I started crying in Arabic. I would say, Mama, 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 Auntie Fini, Mama, Auntie Fini.
Sorry, no, but that's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. And then a Saudi lady heard me, you know, crying in Arabic. And she was like, you know, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Egypt. They're like, where are your parents? I said, I don't know. I was here with them, but I can't see them, you know, so they're not here anymore. And she's like, don't worry, you know, stay here. I'll stay with you. She's like, do you speak English? I said, no, I don't. She's like, don't worry about it. I'll stay with you. Your parents will come back. So what happened was my parents took the bus. And when they got on the bus, I think, you know, maybe after a couple of stops, they were counting the kids and I was missing. But they don't know where they left me. So they said they will just go back.
It is Home Alone.
It's like sort of a Home Alone, but it wasn't days and months.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, I think it was like a couple of hours when they came back for me.
Wow.
But I would like to think that was how it started. You know, the you know, the film and, you know, the colors of the film and, you know, the blood and the plot and, you know, the woman in the bathtub and all that must have triggered something for me to, you know, stay behind and watch, you know. I didn't stay behind, you know, to watch Toys R Us, you know, or like a doll or a Barbie. I was never into that. I think I stayed behind because that all fascinated me. And then, you know, surely, you know, years after, when I got into university, I studied mass communication because, you know, that's what I wanted to study. And
Where did you study?
I studied in the American University in Cairo. Yeah, and, you know, it was mass communication, but the course was, you know, film production and video production, and, you know, it wasn't just film making. It was like, you know, everything to do with mass communication in general.
Besides Carrie, what artists or films like inspired you?
After that lovely incident.
After that incident, yeah.
After that lovely incident. I love Marlon Brando, and I love all his movies, and
But what's your favorite one of Marlon Brando?
Apocalypse Now.
Really?
Even though I know he was like sort of in it for 7 minutes. but it was like impressive.
That's very impressive.
Really, really impressive. I love it. I love this film. I love how he changed his look completely from a gorgeous looking man with beautiful hair to a bald guy, and you barely see his features throughout the whole film. So I love that film for him. I love Elvis in general, and I love his music. So I used to watch a lot of Elvis movies. I know they're not great when it comes to acting, but Elvis is like
has a special place.
It's a feeling.
He's the reason I want to go to Hawaii.
Really?
I've never been to Hawaii, and it's because
I've been to Hawaii.
Because of Elvis. Like Elvis goes to Hawaii or something, and I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, so he's just. I love the music. I love the style. I love that he was like sort of an all-rounder, kind of an artist. Like he was an actor, he was a singer, he composed, he wrote, he danced. So to me, he was like, wow. I mean, like him, Michael Jackson, Madonna, certain people in this world, they don't get created. Prince, these people, khalas, you just, you look at the artists now, they're like, hello, like you're no one compared to the ones we have before.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then people are like, oh, you're just acting old. I'm like, no, we had some good people.
No,
like you don't have anybody now. It's all synthesized and, But I feel like I'm repeating things my dad used to say. What is this music you're listening to? Bob Marley was music. Tupac is not music. Who's Tupac? But that's what I.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree that Bob Marley was amazing, but I like Tupac.
No, of course, yeah, 100%. They're both great artists.
So you said you left advertising in the corporate world because you wanted to, spend time with with your kids and things like that. But what other life experience has changed you? Had a significant effect on you?
I would say moving to Dubai, because I moved to Dubai. I was on my own. I had no family here.
You know your husband?
No, I didn't know my husband. I met him here.
Okay.
In a nightclub. Moving to Dubai because, to be honest, I was miserable in Cairo. I don't like big cities, in general. That's why Dubai for me was like, the perfect balance after, Cairo and the chaos and, the people and the pollution, whether it's noise or air or what have you. So I think coming to Dubai was like a big factor and a great factor in my life, even though obviously like all of us the good, the bad, the ugly, it can't always be
there's ups and downs,
definitely a lot of ups and downs,
yeah.
But being here gave me a chance to meet a lot of interesting people that I probably wouldn't have met when I was in Cairo, because you're just dealing 100% of the time with people from your own country, whereas here we have 200 nationalities. So, my friends are, South Africans, Brits, Persians, a lot of Lebanese, because my husband is Lebanese. So by default, I have a lot of Lebanese friends. Currently, I have a lot of local friends, Emiratis, which was great because, for 30 years, I'm like, I want to have an Emirati friend, and you don't meet them because, they don't do what we do for a living. They don't work in the advertising industry, so it was difficult to meet them. So being in Dubai and meeting all these people was fascinating. Being in Dubai and being able to fly anywhere in the world, which again was a little bit difficult when I was in Cairo, because here it's sort of like a hub.
Yeah, here you can go anywhere.
You can go anywhere. It's close, it's affordable. The fact here that I learned how to work differently than the way I was working in Cairo, because I was exposed. I was exposed, to the Americans, to the South Africans, to the Brits. Again, cultures that I wouldn't have been exposed to had I stayed in Cairo. So I love the South African and the American school of doing production. That's what I aspire to, and that's what I learned when I was here.
But then when you became head of your department, did you create your own style or system?
No, of course.
Based on that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because I don't want to say I'm opinionated, but I know exactly what I want. Okay. And I want to do exactly what I want. I'm not... obviously, back then, there was a lot of ego. There was definitely a lot of ego because, I didn't know better. And I was
you mean
young.
for you or for other people?
No, for me.
Oh, I thought you meant other people.
No, I'm talking about me. Obviously, I had a lot of ego.
But it should have been... it would have been hard being a woman in this industry. In that industry. It's now hard. 20 years ago, it's going to be even harder. Because it was a predominantly male...
To be honest, my boss, who was Lebanese, who actually got me from Cairo to here, because he was my boss in Cairo. He was heading BBDO in Cairo. Yeah. And when he moved to Dubai, he said, I want you to move to Dubai as well. He was very pro-women. Okay. Like 90% of the staff were women. So I'm very lucky that I actually worked with a person that really believed in women and believed that, that women are multitaskers and what have you. And I think you see this a lot in production. You see that most producers are women. There's a reason why, that we do that job really well. It's because we know how to multitask.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that way that I had a boss that was great and fantastic and believed in women and gave me a lot of leeway when it came to who do I hire in my department, who are the production houses I can work with, because obviously we had a choice. We didn't have a lot of production houses the way we do now, but we still had maybe, I don't know, 10, back then.
Yeah.
Still a big number. We used to do a lot of work in Lebanon because Lebanon was really big when it came to production, and it's attractive. The prices were attractive. The country is attractive. So no, I did do a lot of changes. I think again, obviously with the help of my bosses and my colleagues and what have you. Like I told you, I like the American and the South African way of working when it comes to production. So I tried to adapt that. I'm very organized that way. I respect talent and talent making. So I tried as much as possible to promote talent, whether it's a new director of photography or a new director or a new production company that would knock on our doors that doesn't have a big reel. I would say, come along, we'll do a project together. Let's try. And I still do that to this day, and I'm very proud of it. It's something that I really love doing. I love to promote talent and people, whether it's someone that says, I want to become a runner, or someone that says, I'm actually torn between being a DOP and a photographer, so I sit with them and I spend time with them and I tell them what to expect.
Motivating them almost to find
yeah
as you're saying, you motivate people to find their paths.
Yes.
And help and guide them. What has motivated you in life, professionally and personally, to get to where you want to go, and lifted you at times when, because like you said, there's ups and downs. When you're down, what motivates you to keep on going?
I think there are times when, at least I'm talking about myself, where you don't really have a choice but to be motivated.
You just keep going.
I just keep going. I don't think we have a choice. I don't think we should actually. At least for me, I don't get up in the morning and say, what motivates me today to sort of get up in the morning and do this. I do it because I have to. I don't have a choice. I need to.
But is that because you're a parent? You keep on.
I think I've always been. I think I've always been. This kind of character. I think being a parent made that double and triple. I don't have a choice. I mean, I don't understand people that get up in the morning and stay in bed for 6 hours, before they realize what they're gonna do. I don't get those people. I dislike those people.
But you've never been sad? You don't get sad?
No, of course I get sad.
So how'd you get out of it?
Okay.
Mine is to stay in bed or to watch TV for 6 hours. So how'd you?
When I get sad, and by the way, I am sad most often than I am happy. I'm not depressed.
But you don't show it.
No, I don't show it. No, but actually, when you think about it, or like every morning when I get up and I open my eyes, honestly, this is like a true story. I tell myself, I know I'm sad, but I have to pull myself together today. This is like a daily discussion I have with myself, and it's and I start doing affirmations and manifestations, and I'm like, what, I have to start my day. So I am a good chunk of the time I am sad, and not happy, and it's getting worse, I think, with age and with life, and because it's not a very happy life that we live in, with everything that's happening around us. But I tell myself that I have to do something about it, and I have to feel good about myself, and I have to do. So I do it with so many ways, like affirmations. I get up in the morning and I say, I'm wonderful, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm fun, I'm funny, I'm happy, I'm doing well. And I don't use I will. I never say that I will. I always say I am. So I'm not gonna say I will be happy today. I am happy today. And
even if you're not feeling it.
Even if I'm not feeling it, because they always tell you that you should never talk to yourself in the future tense. You should always do it now. You don't say I am going to be successful. You say I am successful. So I do this to myself every day. I do affirmations, I do manifestations.
In front of the mirror?
In front of the mirror, yeah.
Okay.
And it changes the narrative completely. When I start my day, I'm saying, today is a great day, today is a wonderful day, today I'm going to have this lovely podcast. Then automatically the day becomes great. But, if I get up in the morning and tell myself, it's an ugly day, there's a lot of wars around me, and I don't have the money, or I can't afford, or, I'm not as healthy as I was 20 years ago, then my mind and my subconscious will only linger and will, stick to that. So I do a lot of affirmations and manifestations, and in the past 10 years, I've been doing a lot of self-healing. I do a lot of sports, and sports, to be honest, really, it changes my whole, chemistry and my mindset and my life and how I feel. So, like, even on my drive to the beach, just about the kite surfing, even if there is no wind, I'm already feeling 20% better than when I did wake up in the morning. So even with that drive, I try and meet a lot of positive people, and I try to talk to a lot of positive people. Because, like in the past, I used to tell myself, oh, I've known this girl for 20 years. She's my friend. I can't give up on her. But to be honest, she's not adding anything to my life. She's making me feel miserable. I don't have to stick to him or her just because, we go back 20, 30 years. And that also applies to family, by the way. Like if your family are, even though they're family and they're blood, but if they're making you miserable, like, you cannot grow in the same environment that you got sick in, So, yeah, so I detach myself from these people. I'm also very lucky that my husband is so optimistic. It's sickening. Like, and he comes from a very, very, very sad story and a sad environment.
But he's positive.
He's Lebanese. He lived all his life in the war. He's lost a lot of family and friends. He got shot himself. But he's because of the war. He lived all his life in the war. He born in the 70s, and, the war in Lebanon was up until 1991. So he's, naturally, like him and a lot of other Lebanese out there, they, lost someone or...
But he's not pessimistic, he's positive.
He is so positive, it's sick. I don't know where he gets it from, to be honest, but...
But do you ask him, like, how...
No, I ask him, and I get the answer that I get from all the Lebanese, we lived the war. We lived as if, tomorrow may not happen. We lived as if, the next hour will not happen. So I'm very, very lucky that he's in my life and he's my partner. Because whenever I'm in a bad mood or I'm sad or I'm angry, it's always him, making me feel better. And that's because he's also very positive.
It's beautiful, though.
It's fantastic, to be honest, because...
Annoying, like you say.
No, very, very annoying, especially that there are times, and I always tell him that there are times I'm venting, and I want you to just agree with me, even if I'm wrong, and then you can sort of, take me on the side later on and tell me, what. But you're not, like, when you're venting, you're not actually
just
always
listen.
looking...
Don't try and fix it.
You're not actually looking for someone to fix it for you. You just want to vent, But I think this is how God made girlfriends, That's the reason why, you have a girlfriend and not a husband or a man.
So you think I should have a girlfriend?
I think you should have a girlfriend.
I don't know if my wife would be okay with that, but yeah.
And to be honest, my husband and I lost our money 4 times in a lifetime.
4 times?
4 times in a lifetime.
Together?
So I'm hoping, khalas, this is it and we're done and we're not going to be losing any more money.
Recession and...
We're talking about the recession of 2008. We had,
people property.
Bought a lot of property in Dubai and we lost it all. And nothing, it's not like, those stories
Force
where something
majeure.
came up. Yani, I wish, masalan, like a building came up or like an apartment we had that we could rent. So we lost all the money back then. Really, really, really hard times, obviously. And, for myself and a lot of people.
How'd you get through that?
I didn't, and for the longest time I was like miserable and I was angry and I was jealous from a lot of people and I was
but how'd you deal with that
on
part?
medication and it was obviously it was all my money, it was all my saving. I had been in Dubai for a good 10-15 years and I had both of my kids and it was really, really hard, and I wasn't getting any younger. So it took me a long time to get over that. But I think also I'm lucky because I have him in my life. Because again, he was like very positive and he said, don't worry about it, we'll make the money back. And, we're going to fight. We didn't do anything about it. We filed a couple of lawsuits. And, we kept working,
So you just moved on? You just kept on going?
Yeah, he did. I was like, you did this to us. You could have done better. You could have studied the market better. I didn't ask you to do this. It was like a blame game for the longest time. And then, obviously I just had to give up and,
But he wasn't blaming you? You were just, or...
No, I don't think... Haram, it's not his character. No, it's not his character. And then, again, we lost the money in 2010 with the revolution in Egypt because I had some money there.
Oh my God.
And it was pretty difficult to access. And then the pound, when it used to be 5 to the dirham, it became 14 to the dirham. So that was like the second loss. And then the third loss was...
Not the Lebanon money.
Lebanon, طبعا, of course, 100%. Of course, 100%. So 2019 was like another really big hit as well for us. And then the last hit, which was like probably the worst hit of all, I think. No, we had a really good friend of ours who was like in and out of our house for like, 15 years. Friends with him, friends with the wife, friends with the kids, partying together, going out together, dinners and what have you. He ended up being a con artist. And he took 7 million dirhams from 10, 15 people. All his friends, all people that he was in and out of their houses all the time. So he had actually borrowed a lot of money from us as well and then disappeared.
He disappeared?
He disappeared.
No one knows where he is?
Rumored that he's still around, but then,
See, I would not want to say what I would do on camera, but I would want to find someone like that. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so like, about it. Or I'd no way.
I know. It was, but again, that was probably the worst one because he was a friend. He was someone that you trusted.
15 years, you're friends with him.
Yeah. And not only conning us, but conning all his friends. That he was in and out of their homes. So it was like a long series of losses financially, and I think with the financial loss, you start losing faith in a lot of things as well, and you start questioning. But I think once you start healing from all that, which is what I've been doing for the past 10 years, working on myself and reading self-help and talking to people and, seeing therapists and what have you, is you start giving less importance to financials. Okay. It doesn't become the center of your life, you start planning a little bit better. And
how can you plan against natural disasters? These are unforeseeable disasters.
They are, but to be honest, with the real estate, it's something that we didn't know anything about. It was not something that we had studied, So maybe had we done a little bit of homework, then we could have said, you know what, we're not going to buy 9 properties, we'll buy 4, or we'll buy 2, or we're going to buy like with an establishment that not fishy or rocky or what have you. So a little bit of homework I think would have helped. Yes, you couldn't have done anything about Lebanon or Egypt because that was something that you couldn't have foreseen. The friend is definitely something that...
What helped you get over that? Because I would have trust issues.
Well, you need to sort of, even if it's like a brother or a sister, I think you have to have some sort of guarantee, with, whether you give money or you don't, have a post-dated check written. And it shouldn't be something that you're embarrassed to ask for because what's right is right, Like I remember 2 months ago, I sold a kite and we're talking about like 2,500 dirhams. And I told the guy, listen, when the money hits the account, I will send you the kite. He's like, oh, come on. I gave you the proof of payment. I said, you know what? I've been burned so badly. This proof of payment could be, not legit, could be fake.
Could be whatever.
I know it's 2,500 dirhams, but, I'm sorry. If you want, you can meet me somewhere, give me the money, and I will give you the kite, But I'm not going to sort of trust that the money is definitely going to hit my account. When it hits my account, you get the kite. And he said, you know what, you're right, fair, So I think having a conversation with someone, that wants to borrow money from you, like, you know what, okay, I'm fine, I can give you the money, but then I need 1, 2, 3, 4.
I love your jewelry. You got
you.
different things there.
Yeah.
Some cool rings and necklaces.
They have stories. Some of them have stories.
Give me some cool stories.
This one is for my daughter. I think it's the first time I took her to Global Village. She was 4 years old. Okay. And she's like, Mom, can I have money? I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you want to buy? She's like, I want to get you a gift. So that was amazing. And then she found this ring that says, I love you, Mom. I think these were the days when there was love, coming from your kids, which you rarely find now.
Thank you. I got something to look forward to then.
Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%. I think you should enjoy it while your son is young because, by the time he's 12 or 14, he's going to be a monster, whether you like it or you don't.
Hey, sometimes the monsters now, still.
Yeah, maybe boys. I don't know. I don't have boys. I have 2 girls, so I don't know. I can't say for sure.
They're not close to your husband?
They're very close to my husband.
Still now?
Very, and I'm very
girls.
jealous. I think it's a girl thing.
Okay.
So that was for my daughter.
Yeah.
This watch I bought with my very big first paycheck
Okay.
Because it's a Rolex. It's the first Rolex I own.
Okay.
So I remember I bought it from Frankfurt Airport. I had just made, a lot of money, and I was like, you know what? I want to buy a Rolex. I want to be one of those girls because I don't like real jewelry.
Yeah.
But I love watches, so I
Okay.
collect watches.
All right.
So that was my first very big paycheck. This one is from a good friend of mine who knows my taste. She knows I love silver. And every time she goes, to anywhere and she finds anything exotic and weird and big, I like big jewelry, as you can see.
Yeah.
So she bought it for me. This one is my dad's. I lost my dad.
When did you lose him?
I lost him in 2012. I lost him when I was here, which is not something that is easy. I mean, he was living in Cairo, obviously. He was old, but it still is, like when you lose a parent and you're not living with that parent and you don't see him day in, day out, and, you haven't had the lunches or the dinners or the gatherings with him, it becomes really, really hard. And I was on a production. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? I can't.
What happened to you? He got a heart attack?
Yeah, he had a heart attack. So I was, about to get into a shoot. I was like, what am I going to do, So I think I did the right thing. I went to Cairo, I buried him, and then I came back and I did my shoot. So I didn't want to, have to drag it when I was in Cairo.
And this was his one of his scarves?
Yeah, he used to wear a lot of scarves. He used to wear a lot of those...
the
handkerchief in the pocket, the lovely fashion they had back then.
What did he do for a living?
My father was a professor in geography, but then when he came to Cairo, he became a businessman. Yeah, because he had made the money in the Gulf. Okay. So it made sense to go back to Cairo and, start a business. So we had the first chicken company in Egypt, which was where you have the live poultry and, you would sort of slaughter them. So it was like a slaughterhouse / a company that packages chicken and sells it to supermarkets and we used to actually at some point sell for KFC. Yeah. Right. So he became a businessman.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And your mom?
My mom is a lawyer, or was a lawyer. She doesn't work anymore, obviously. Corporate law.
Oh,
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool.
All right. So they were not in media or film or anything like that?
No, not at all. My dad, I think even shortly before he died, he's like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I do for a living? He's like, I get up early in the morning and you come back like after 18 hours and you're tired and you're drained. And I'm like, I work and film. He's like, yeah, what do you do? Why do you stay for 6 hours and 16 hours and 20 hours? They don't get it, but...
Would you say you're more like your mom or your dad?
I think mixture of both. Closer to my dad, for sure.
Why?
My dad was so kind. He's sort of like, the kind of guy you feel like you want to give a voice to the voiceless kind of guy. So my mother was a lawyer, so she always had the right things to say, and she always had an argument. Whenever I would lie about wanting to go out or meet a boyfriend, she would catch me because she's a lawyer.
No, she's a mother.
And she's a mother. Taban, of course, 100%. She's a mother, and she's I'm the same sex like her, so she knows.
Moms always know.
Yeah.
So just know.
No, it's
Moms
amazing.
just know.
I think it's a mom thing. I have the same thing now with my daughters. Yeah. Like, I can tell them, oh, by the way, where were you? She's like, I was at the movies. I'm like, you weren't at the movies. I can tell. Like, your whole vibe is not the movie vibe. And, your whole face doesn't shout like you just finished a 2-hour movie.
It's a mom thing.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What's the best piece of advice you had in your life?
I think it was a number of advices, and I don't think it was like sort of planned. Because I have a lot of my friends, they tell me, when I was growing up, my mom told me my dad. I don't remember my parents telling me anything, to be honest, because, at different times and different ways of upbringing, and I don't remember them, sitting me down and talking to me at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't, we never had that mindset. I think because also we're Arabs. Maybe Arabs don't have that mindset. It's not like, the Americans or the Brits or, they see their kids and they actually tell them stuff.
I think that's only in the movies.
Or maybe only in the movies, to be honest. Yeah. Only maybe in the movies, because, But I have my friends who tell me, my dad used to always tell me, work hard and play hard. I was like, I don't remember my dad telling me anything, to be honest. So I think it came from a lot of people, or like different people. One of them actually came from my husband, and it was very true, and I wish I listened to him back then. Yeah. But I was young and stupid and arrogant, and I had a lot of ego. He said, you catch more flies with honey. So that was amazing, because, I was always like, it's my way or the highway. People have to listen to what I'm saying because I know best. And you're stupid, I'm not going to talk to you. It was all of that. It was like, I know everything. Again, the ego of the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, and that hindered me a lot of my growth. Had I listened to him, which I think was one of the reasons why.
Which context was he telling you in? Was he trying to prove a point or trying to get his way?
No. I think he was. We were talking mainly about work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was telling him, you know what, I'm doing really good at work, but I could be doing much better. And the reason why I wasn't doing better is because I was really focusing on, the work aspect of it. But I think it's also very important for you to be successful at work because of your attitude as well, which is not something I had. I did not have the right attitude. I didn't have the right character. I didn't have the right PR skills,
I can understand what you're saying because I also did. I went through waves where I was like militant.
Yeah.
And then I decided
that's
to
wrong.
be. It is wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes when things are just crazy busy and you know what needs to be done, you don't have time for democracy. It's got to be done this way with timelines.
I
and
agree
just
with
have
you.
to go.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're heading a department or heading a production, it has to be the final say of the executive producer. But what I'm trying to tell you, again, from a lot of readings, a lot of books I read, success is not necessarily you doing something better than me. Success, a big part of it is an attitude. It's a lot of successful people out there were not necessarily very good at what they did, but they had the right character. They had the right PR skills. They networked a lot. They sweet-talked a lot of people. They did a lot of PR, which is something I never did.
Yeah, but sometimes I think that was a bit, that comes across a bit, some of them are a bit fake as well. And yeah, I know what you mean. And they've progressed in their career.
Yeah.
But is that what you wanted to do?
No, that's not what I wanted to do. But what I'm saying, there was no harm in me actually being able to have both. Yeah. Still be really good at what I do for a living, which I am, and I was. But I didn't have the character to support it. So, I have a lot of my friends who are now doing much better than I am because they had both. I didn't have both. I was like, no, this is how it's done. Very German, it's my way or the highway, or, but that's not right. Now, after all these years, I wish I had that. So that was a good advice from my husband, is like, you catch more flies with honey. So had I been a little bit nicer, maybe I would have been more successful. Yeah, I think a really, really important one that I believe came from my mom, it was, in order for you to have a healthy mind, you need to have a healthy body and, healthy eating habits.
That is key.
Which is really, really important, in this day and age, specifically now because we have a lot of...
You have to fuel the engine properly.
100%, yeah. So that was also nice and something I go by.
Very cool. Very cool. So we are almost at the end of the show.
Okay.
We like to wrap up with something called Wildcard questions. In these cans, there is a question. You can choose you choose one, and I will pick it out and read the question to you. So for anyone, just go ahead.
I'll go for the middle one.
No problem.
I like everything hard.
Let's see. Okay, so here we have the question. Bum-da-da-da. Okay. The question is there something you feel you have missed out on in life? And if so, what is it?
I missed out in life. I think I missed out on making really good friends. I think I would have wanted to make better friends. When I see people that have friends, that they go back with 40 years, can't help but feel a little bit jealous. And jealousy is not a good thing. And part of my healing is to actually work on that. But it's human. I mean, we all every now and then get a little bit jealous, and I don't like that. And I work on it, and I'm getting much better. But I really think I should have invested more time and energy and effort into making really good friends, which was not something I did.
That's very honest of you.
Yeah.
I get that as well. I get jealous with I see my wife has friends from her childhood.
I know.
Like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And I'm like...
Yeah, I don't know how people do it, but to be honest, it's a lot of work, and that's something I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to meet more people, actually spend... It's very difficult to sort of, pick up the phone and make it a habit to ask, how you doing.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like Dubai where you're so the whole dynamics of the friendship is very different. Than
people changing, moving, coming
exactly,
in and out. Yeah.
You know, and we're all really busy during the week. We only have time in the weekend, and when we do have time in the weekend, you know, let's go and get drunk. You know, because like we're so tired, we don't want to talk.
Need the energy.
We just, you know.
Yeah.
So, but now it's something I'm working on. It's yeah.
I think you're probably the most honest guest we've had on the
Really?
show so far. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, I think so. Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Not that the others were bad, but it's definitely been the most honest. Yeah.
Even though I get this, I don't know if it's something I want to go by. I was reading a book the other day about saying that you should not say much about yourself. You should always keep that mystery. You should, you know, really be careful because, you know, your friends could end up being your enemies, but it's just a very unhealthy way to live.
I think it's a sign of being brave.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm brave, I'm confident, I have nothing to hide. I want, if there's anything that can come out of what you and I are talking about that can help someone, whether personally or professionally, you know, why not? You know, I would like to be the reason for that.
Like this thing about, you know, hide because people are going to hurt you or use it against you. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If someone's going to find something out about you and then use it against you, it doesn't have to be factual. It could be, they can make up lies about you. Anything can happen.
No, of course. And listen, it is going to happen. You are going to hurt and you are going to struggle and you are going to go through pain. I mean, no matter the amount of safety nets I can put, you know, it is going to happen. This is not a production, you know. In a production, you can sort of, you know, put the best and the perfect formula for everything to go perfectly right.
And even then things will go wrong.
And still things
And you
go
have to deal with
wrong.
it.
So imagine, you know, with life, with all the unknowns, it's impossible for this to be bulletproof.
Yeah, I think my uncle told me, it's like, or someone told me, I think it was him, who was like, you can make plans, like you can plan your life and God will laugh.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So besides the fact that you're launching this new quotes memorabilia bag, you know, merchandise program, what do you want the public to know about you? What's next for you? Is there anything you want them to know, where they can find you, speak to you, whether it's corporate clients, you know, everything?
They can find me, I mean, you know,
we'll tag you on this as well, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They can find me on Instagram, and I'm happy to, again, you know, like I told you at the beginning of our talk, I love promoting people. I love, you know, finding talents, and I think I have done in the past. I found a lot of talents. I found a lot of individuals. I found a lot of production houses. I mean, they are who they are today because, you know, I pushed them and I gave them a chance. So I love doing that. So if anybody has anything to do with production that they want to sort of, you know, knock on my door, gladly will help. If there's also people that want to know what it's like to be, you know, sad and depressed a good chunk of the time, but still being able to get up in the morning and do something about it and to live, you know, I can tell them how it's done.
That's the point of this,
I cannot promise that I'm going to remove the depression. And I actually like saying that I'm not depressed, I am grieving. You know, so I'm not depressed. I'm grieving, and I think grieving is it's a mandatory process of life. You know, grieving, you know, for an opportunity, grieving for it doesn't have to be big grief, but you know, grieving is a big part of it. So I'm here if anybody thinks, you know, my story is inspirational. What do I want people to know? I want people to know that it's possible, you know, that if you set your mind to something, that you can do it. Your trauma shouldn't hold you back from anything. You know, you can choose to be who you want to be. You don't have to be defined by what happened to you in the past or, you know, what traumas, whether big or small. I also would like to tell them that you can change careers at any point in life, you know, because every 10, 12 years I'm reinventing myself. Yes, I am still doing media, but, you know, I was a head of production and then I became a movie producer and running and managing my own production house, consulting for clients, consulting for big clients, you know, like, you know, Dubai tourism, Saudi tourism. So it is possible, you know, to actually change your career every now and then or, you know, change your passion. You can move. You're not a tree. So that's also really important. You know, people want to move. You can move and leave the country and go elsewhere. It's just, I want to tell them that it's possible, you know, and I also want to tell them that it's possible even though that you are getting older. But, you know, like I started my kiting when I was 40 years old, you know. I started my diving when I was 45 years old. So it's, you know, you shouldn't limit yourself to, your age or your abilities. You should just, go ahead and do it. If you want to do it. Try it, fall a number of times, get up again, fall again. And I honestly think that's the only way to succeed. It's not by you reading a lot of books. It's not by you meeting a lot of people. It's not by you networking. It's by you failing. Yeah. That's the only way you learn. And that's why I don't mind if I fail. I don't mind when I go to a room and I don't know anybody. Like I get invited to parties. I'm like, oh, but I have no one to take. And then I tell myself I'm still going to go, because I want to challenge myself. I want to see if I can still sit at that bar and, talk to people. And I do.
That's super brave.
I know.
Well, thank you very much again for being on the show.
So
it's been wonderful to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.